right. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari. Gopi Janabadaba Girivadana Gukje. Gopi Janabalaba Girivadana Gukje. Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Manachanti. Yamuna Tira Manachanti. Jaya Radha Madhuva Kun Jabihare. Jaya Radha Madhuva Kun Jabihare. Gopi Janabalaba Kirivadadakute. Gopi Janabalaba Kirivadadare. Yasodanandana Praja Janaranjana. Yasodanandana Praja Janaranjana. Jamuna Tira Manachanti. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunya Vihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paramahansa also Teta Satashi Shimad. His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanana Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Huidas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Vakta Vrindagajai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Sayama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Kijai Vrindavanam Kijai Maturidam Kijai Jagadada Swami Kijai Yamunamai Kijai Shivani Lasi Devi Kijai Samaveda Bhakta Vrindagajai Gaur Prema Nanda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to the assembled devotees. All glory is to the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschachipte So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam 10 Canto 63rd chapter, text 14. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Mohayitva Tu Girishang Rimvanastrena Rimvitam Manasya Pritanam Sharir Jagannasi Gadeshubi Mohayat Fatu Girishahum Rimbanastrena Rimbitam Manasya Pritanam Sharir Jagannasi Gadeshubi Mohayitva Tu Girisham Rimbanastrena Rimbitam Manasya Pritanam Sharir Jagannasi Agadeshubi Mohayitva Tu Girisham Rimbanastrena Rimbitam Manasya Pritanam Sharir Jagannasi Gadeshubi. Okay. Alrighty. Mohayitva, bewildering, to then Girisham, Lord Shiva, Rimbana Astrena, with a yawning weapon, Rimbatam, made to yawn, Abanasha, Abana, Apritanam, the army, Shori, Lord Krishna, Jakana, struck, Ase, with his sword, Gada, club, Ishubhi, and arrows. Translation: after bewildering Lord Shiva by making him yawn with a yawning weapon, Lord Krishna proceeded to strike down Manasura's army with his sword, club, and arrows. You can repeat. After bewildering Lord Shiva by making him yawn with a yawning weapon, Lord Krishna proceeded to strike down Banasura's army with his sword, club, and arrows. So there's no purport or commentary by followers of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, so we're going to just read Jiva Goswami's commentary, and then we'll read a little bit from the Harivamsa, and we'll go on to some of the other verses. So Jiva Goswami states that Krishna made Shiva faint with his yawning weapon. Harivamsa says, Sa shara sa danushchaiva harastena su drimbata songyam nalebe bhagavan vijitasura raksha sam. Translation is Shiva, still holding his arrows and bows, suddenly yawned and lost consciousness because of the Lord's weapon. The Lord was the conqueror of the demons. The sword, club, and arrows are progressively more effective at a distance. So, again, Mohitva to Girisham, Rimbanastarina, Rimbitam, Vanasha Pritanam, Sharir, Jukhan Asir, Vedeshubi. So, Omagana Timidanda Shah, Gananjana Shlakia, Chaksu, Miritam Yena. So, I'm going to read a little bit from the Harivamsa. Not much, just a little section from the Harivamsa. Actually, there's quite a bit about Lord Shiva fighting Krishna here, but I'm just going to read a little bit. All right, let's go back to that section. Here we go. This is about the yawning weapon. This is chapter, and I forget my Roman numerals, CCLXX8III. I forgot how to read Roman numerals. The earth goes, what? Huh? Yeah, I'm not so good with these Roman numerals anymore. The earth goes to Brahma. Markandeya explains how Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva are one. That's the name of the chapter. Vaishampayana said, when the three eyes of Shiva were burning all the worlds, and they were covered with darkness, and Nandi, that's Lord Shiva's bull, Ruja and his car were not visible. Then Ruja, burning in double effulgence on account of his anger and strength, took up his arrow, having sharpened darts on four sides, with which he had killed Tripura. So he was really angry. When the three-eyed deity, that's it, Lord Shiva, took up that arrow, set it to his bow, and was about to discharge it, the high-souled Vasudeva, that's Krishna, of course, cognizant of the minds of all, came to know of it. Thereupon, the quick-handed and highly powerful Purushottama, that's another name for Krishna, means topmost person, took up his weapon, Vijimbara, yawning, and made it sent it to Hari, made Hara, that's Lord Shiva, it's the name for Lord Shiva, yawn. With that arrow, the divine Hara, the conqueror of Asuras and Rakshasas, was stupefied together with his bow and arrows and lost consciousness, having stupefied with his weapon his own self in the shape, because Lord Shiva is an expansion of Lord Krishna, but not Vishnu Tava, a special category, as been mentioned in previous classes. In the shape of Rudra, together with his bow and arrows, the highly powerful Krishna, identical with all, blew his conch shell. Seeing Shankara stupefied, and hearing the blare of his conch shell, Panchajanya, and the twang of his bow, Sangha, all the creatures were filled with fear. In the meantime, Rudra's followers arrived at the battlefield and, resorting to an illusory fight, attacked Arjuna. The highly powerful and energetic Makarketana, that's another name for Krishna, shark-like person, Markara Ketana. So many names of Krishna here. However, made them all sleep. So he put to sleep all the associates of Rudra too, and with his arrows began to kill the Danavas, who had innumerable pramatas amongst them. While Rudra, of unwearied actions, yawned. In this same time, Rudra's yawning, but something else happens when Rudra's yawning. A flame came out of his mouth and consumed the 10 quarters. He's just going. At that time, assailed by those powerful armies, the goddess Earth, trembling, approached the great Brahma and said, O thou of large arms, O great God, I have been assailed with great energies. I have been so much loaded with the weight of Rudra and Keshava that I will again be reduced to one all-extending ocean, like at the time of the cosmic dissolution. O grandfather, do you think you should think of this unbearable burden of mine? Do thou find out some means by which, released of my burden, I may uphold the mobile and immobile creatures. And so there's some discussion here. Anyway, I'm not going to get into this whole aspect of the story. So let's talk about this yawning weapon, because just hearing about the yawning weapon, I'm not going to talk about everybody else in the mode of ignorance. Don't worry. It reminds me of the story in the Mahabharata when Arjuna and the Pandavas were in exile, and actually they were hiding in the kingdom of Virat. And Arjuna became this interesting person, Briha Nala. And Yudhisthira was Kanka. Anyway, all the 5 Pandavas were hiding. Arjuna became like a transvestite, or, nowadays it would be, according to DEI, isn't it? Very much. Probably the present government of the United States would not appreciate him that much. But anyway, he was a dancing teacher because, as we've read previously in this particular chapter, or the previous chapter, that the girls were not allowed to come in contact with any regular man. In other words, they could only have eunuchs guarding them or other ladies guarding them, the young girls. And this is for the protection, the chastity of the young girls, because it was actually quite dangerous, because young girls could fall in love, as we find that Usha fell in love just because she was dreaming of Aniruddha. So, sometimes it happens. The young girl sees a young boy and they fall in love for just because of, anyway, insanity. Has nothing to do with practicality or anything like that. So, anyway, Arjuna got the chance to teach Uttara, that is the daughter of the king of Virat. And he had also really become a eunuch or a transvestite, whatever it is, for a year, because he had been cursed by Urvasi. There's a whole story in the Mahabharata that he was in the heavenly planets getting weapons, and we're going to talk about his yawning weapon in a second. That's why we're telling the story. Anyway, someone may wonder, why am I talking about the Mahabharata and the kingdom of Virat? So he got all of his weapons when he was in the heavenly planets. But another thing happened in the heavenly planets is that he got approached by Urvasi. And Urvasi happened to be his great, 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 great grandmother. Anyway, there's a whole other story in the Bhagavatam about that. But Urvasi being an Apsara, and actually, according to the Bhagavatam, she was created by the Lord. When Indra went to try to allure Narayan Rishis, they were engaged in austerity, and Indra brought down some heavenly society girls in springtime. And anyway, he tried to lure Narayan Rishis, and Narayan Rishis, they simply yawned. And they said to Indra, after Indra apologized, actually, we can create so many heavenly society girls, and they did. And they said to Indra, you can take home one with you. And that one they took home with them was Urvasi. So anyway, so Urvasi proposed to Arjuna that they would have a conjugal relationship. And Arjuna said to her, Mataji. Nowadays, sometimes the ladies get upset when you call them Mataji, isn't it? Mataji. So, and she got upset. So I guess the modern ladies are following in the footsteps of Urvasi in the same way. So anyway, so don't worry, I have become conservative. So, she got upset. She said, you're going to become a eunuch. Arjuna got upset because, his whole stature, prestige was based upon his being very masculine and a fighter. So he goes to Indra, and Indra says it's going to happen for 1 year. So, and anyway, that was the year in which Arjuna, in hiding, the Pandavas were in hiding, became sort of a eunuch or whatever, so he could be the dancing teacher of Uttara. So anyway, so what happened is the Kurus decided to attack, that is Duryodhana, Shakuni, and others, and Karna too, decided to attack with the whole army the whole army of the Kurus. They decided to attack the kingdom of Virat because Duryodhana had understood that Arjuna must be there in the kingdom of Virat, and the other Pandavas must be there in the kingdom of Virat, because Bhimsen had killed Kichika. Nobody could kill Kichika. All right, little Mahabharata story, even though it has nothing to do with the Bhagavatam. Anyway, it just has everything to do with the yawning weapon. So what happened is the Kurus attacked the kingdom of Virat. In the meantime, the other soldiers were fighting another attacking army, and all that was left within the city were the ladies and basically Arjuna, who was Brihanala at that particular time, and the son of the king of Virat was also named Uttara. There's Uttara and Uttara. So anyway, they had the same name with a different pronunciation of the last letter. Uttara is the lady, Uttara is the man. So the son of the king of Virat was there. He was very, very young, very, very young, and not capable of fighting. So anyway, so there's a bunch of ladies, Arjuna, who was a eunuch, and the son of the king of Virat were there. And of course, Uttara was one of the ladies there, the daughter of the king of Virat. So the Kurus were attacking, and so they didn't know what to do. And basically, Arjuna explained that he used to be the chariot, drive the chariot for Arjuna, even though he was Arjuna. He said, I used to drive the chariot for Arjuna, So let me drive Uttara, you understand, to fight. And because I'm a great chariot driver, he won't get in trouble. So anyway, so Uttara, feeling very enthusiastic, this very immature boy, they get into this chariot, and Arjuna's driving the chariot, and Arjuna has long hair. He looks like whatever, a female. And he's wearing a sari or whatever the ladies wore at that particular point. And they face the whole Kuru dynasty. And so basically, he blows his conch shell. Of course, this is after the time when the Pandavas were supposed to be in hiding. So actually, the Pandavas didn't break their agyatvas. It's called agyatvas. That means hiding in exile. So Arjuna blows his conch shell, and actually, what happens first is Uttara tries to fight with the Kuru dynasty, and he gets so scared he jumps off the chariot, and Arjuna runs after him and grabs him. He says, "What are you doing?" And he explains to him who he is. They go to where the weapons are hidden. They get the weapons. Arjuna mounts the chariot. Then he blows the conch shell. And then he confronts the Kuru dynasty. And then what he does is he employs his yawning weapon. So that's why I'm telling the story. So anyway, yawning weapon. And so basically the whole Kuru dynasty falls asleep on the battlefield, except for Grandfather Bhishma. It's described that Grandfather Bhishma was making believe that he was asleep because he really wanted Arjuna to defeat the rest of the Kuru dynasty. And so what Arjuna does is, because everyone's asleep, he doesn't attack them anymore. He just takes away their scarves. They all have these like traditional martial scarves on, or something that marks who they are with their insignias on them. So he takes them off, and then he gives them as a present to Uttara, which is a very interesting story. So that's another instance of the yawning weapon. So we'll continue reading. So it seems that other personalities had the yawning weapon other than Krishna. So let's continue. There's not much more I can say about the yawning weapon. I've exhausted my whole memory about yawning weapons. So we'll go on to the next verse. Arjamana samantata ashrik vimunchan gatrevya shikina pakramadranat. Whoops, I actually left this. See, I left the first because this is in the previous page. Skanda prajuna banagar arjamana samantata ashrig vimunchan gatrebya shikina pakramadranat. Lord Kartikeya, that's Skanda, was distressed by the flood of Prajuna's arrows raining down from all sides, and thus he fled the battlefield on his peacock as blood poured from his limbs. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states, Kartikeya Skanda left the battlefield with his peacock. Jiva Goswami states, having described Krishna's victory, now Shukadeva describes other victories of his followers in 2 verses. So there's not really too much to explain here. Sanatana Goswami says, having described Krishna's victory, now Shukadeva describes other victories of his followers, same thing, in 2 verses. He fled on the peacock because without it he could not move, being in great pain. Text 16. Kumbanda kupakarnascha petatur muchalarditau dudruvushtat adnikani hotanatani sarvata. Kumbanda and Kupakarna, tormented by Lord Balaram's club, fell down dead. When the soldiers of these 2 demons saw that their leaders had been killed, They scattered in all directions. Hmm. And Jiva Goswami comments, it should be understood that Bana's son was defeated by Samba. Okay, not much to say about that. And text 17. Vishiryamanam swabalam drishrabano chamarshata krishnam abhyadravat sankye rati hitvaiva satyakim. Banasura was furious to see his entire military force being torn apart. Leaving his fight with Satyaki, he charged across the battlefield on his chariot and attacked Lord Krishna. So Jiva Goswami says, seeing his army, Balam scattered. Bana left his fight with Satyaki and attacked Krishna. Same thing. And then in the commentary from Sanatana Goswami, we hear that his troops were destroyed or broken. Or he saw in the fight with Satyaki that his power had withered away. Fighting with him was useless. Why waste my powers? I should fight with the main opponent, Krishna. He thus charged towards Krishna quickly, since he mounted a chariot with a charioteer named Nandishvara. It's also Lord Shiva's bull, but I guess his charioteer also had the same name. So, Nandisha Sangrihi Tashvam Adirudo Maharitam Vanastrayat Yodum Krishna Karshni Valai Saha. Bana, mounted on a huge chariot with horses guided by Nandisha, then came to fight with Krishna and his armies. This is from the Vishnu Purana. Though it was not proper to give up fighting the opponent, he gave up Satyaki without winning. Eva has meaning of va, because he was very angry. Just one comment here, that the comment that it was not proper for him to give up fighting the opponent, that is actually a Kshatriya concern, a Kshatriya dharma, that if you're fighting an opponent, you're not supposed to run away from that. Actually, it's considered very embarrassing, as Krishna says, Krishna says to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, that one has been honored, dishonor is worse than death. And of course, Arjuna also wants to run away from the battlefield. So this is considered disgraceful for a Kshatriya. So in other words, Banasura had some Kshatriya tendencies. Although he was an Asura, still, he did respect, and you find this in the case of many Asuras, and even in the case of when Lord Varaha was fighting Hiranyaksha, that at one point, Lord Varaha dropped his weapon and Hiranyaksha allowed him to pick it up again. So, you have all this different chivalrous exchange. So this is the mood between Krishna and the demons when they're fighting. It's like a chivalrous mood. Chivalry, of course, is one of the indirect rasas. So we'll go on here. Danum Shakrisha Yugapad Vana Pancha Shatani Vai Ekai Kasmin Shadow Dwal Dwal Sandade Rana Durumada. Excited to a frenzy by the fighting, Bana simultaneously pulled taut all the strings of his 500 bows and fixed 2 arrows on each string. Jiva Goswami says, being proud on the battlefield, Rana Durmada, he shot his arrows. And Sanatana Goswami says, he pulled the strings even by 500 bows simultaneously because he was very crazy or proud, thinking I've conquered everybody. So, next verse. Tan chicheda bhagavan danum se yugapadare sharatim ratam ashvams cha Potva Shankam Apurayat. Lord Srihari split every one of Banasura's bows simultaneously and also struck down his chariot driver, chariot, and horses. The Lord then sounded his conch shell. Jiva Goswami comments that Bana's bows broke simultaneously on contact with Krishna's arrows. This was, in other words, even though Krishna only manifested 2 arms, and Banasura had 1,000 arms, still Krishna with 2 arms was able to simultaneously fire the arrows to break all the bows. This was Krishna's pastime since he was endowed with all powers, Bhagawan. He then destroyed the charioteers, chariots and horses. Thus he was called Hari, or one who destroys. Sang Hariti. Next verse. Tanmata Kotara Nama Nagma Mata Shiro Ruha Urova Toshte Krishnasya Putra Prana Virakshaya. Just then, Banasura's mother Kotara, desiring to save her son's life, appeared before Lord Krishna naked and with her hair undone. I don't know which is worse, the hair undone or the naked. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states, Bana's mother, named Kotara, sometimes called Kotara, is a form of Parvati worship by the demons. With a desire to protect her son, Avrirakshya, she appeared naked. Actually, I'm going to read something from the Harivamsa in a second. Jiva Goswami says, according to the Harivamsa, Bana became Shiva's son by great austerities because the mother was thus considered to be like Parvati. She was called Kotara, another form of Parvati. In Harivamsa, she is famous as Kotari. Shiva says, please save him, O Parvati. Go quickly to save Bana without delay. I'm going to read the Sanskrit. Krishnaish kasya tadrupam darshiyat parshramagata antaradanam upagamya tyaktvasa vasasi pura paritranaya vanasya vijayadishtayita tata prabhuke vasudevasya digvasa kutavistita. She came close to Krishna in her form. Giving up invisibility, she appeared before him while wearing clothing. In order to protect Bana, she then stood there facing Krishna without clothing. Kotari is another name of Bana's mother. That's also the same thing. According to Vishnu Purana, however, Kotari is the name of a devata of the demons who possess powerful mantras. Namna datye vidyabhut. Kotari purtohare. Kotari, who had demoniac knowledge, appeared before Krishna. She is also called Kotavi. Another version has Virakshaya instead of Virakshaya. Okay, so now I'm going to read from the Harivamsa about this interesting pastime of the naked mother. Okay. Whoops. Okay. When Krishna, of incomparable energy, was about to discharge his discus, so Krishna was actually going to use his Sudarshan discus at this time to kill Banasura. The beautiful Kotavi, described to as beautiful, at the mandate of Mahadev, in other words, Lord Shiva sent her, came there naked for protecting Kumara. It says Kumara, anyways. Somehow this says Kumara, but it's Bana. The 8th portion of the goddess Lamba intervened between them like a beautiful golden Shakti. Seeing the goddess stand before Kumara, it says, but it's Bana, the large-armed Krishna was baffled and said, "Oh, fie on you! Fly away soon from this place. Why do you throw obstacles in the way of certain destruction?" Vaishampayana said, hearing even those words of the mighty armed Krishna, Kotavi did not put on her cloth protecting Vana. And let me enter this. So the Lord said, take Guha with you and fly away soon from the battlefield. It will be well for us today if you do this, or else I refrain from fighting. He will fight with me. So now Guha is a name for Lord Shiva. Guha means hidden, but it's also a name for Lord Shiva. Thereupon, beholding a naked goddess in the battlefield, the divine younger brother of Vasava, the Lord Hari, that means the younger brother of Balaram. The Lord Hari put away his discus. Hearing these words of the intelligent Madhava, the god of gods, the goddess brought Guha before Hara. Anyway, then with the great danger took place, and Guha was protected. Oh no, Guha is actually Bana. I'm sorry. All these different terminologies. Guha was protected by the goddess. Vana came to that place when he saw Guha. Well, he's not. Guha's not. Who is Guha? Anyway. So Guha, released from Krishna's discus and retired from the battlefield, he felt an inclination for fighting himself with Madhava. Thereupon, bewildered, the ghosts, yakshas, and Vana's soldiers fled away on all sides. Of that broken army, only Pramatas remained there. And with them, the great Asuras soon marched for the battlefield. As the wielder of Thunderbolt proceeds in the company of the leading celestials, so Vana went with a highly dreadful, powerful, energetic, and great Daitya commanders, thereupon chanting the destruction of his enemies. His priests and other elderly persons, well read in Shrutis, performed benedictory ceremonies on behalf of the high-souled Vana with mantras, recitation, and herbs. In other words, Vana was definitely Vedic. So he had a lot of priests, and they were performing mantras on his behalf. So any questions or comments? Well, I mean, the translation is Old English. It's not that Krishna really uses Old English. Yeah, fire upon you. So any other questions or comments? No? So we got to greet the deities now, so thank you very much. Interesting story. Not much to talk about, at least for me, philosophically. It's basically Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, enjoying ras, as we mentioned many times before, just to reiterate. Krishna is actually enjoying this. He doesn't have to do this to kill demons. He doesn't have to come himself for paritranaya saranam vinachaya duskutam. He could simply do it by his will. He's up to kama. But he's doing it because there's a exchange of ras that Krishna is enjoying. The chivalrous ras, the anger ras, isn't it? The ghastly ras, and all these things Krishna's enjoying like anything. Just like one enjoys sporting games. And even though we know in sporting games, hopefully no one gets killed, people enjoy this. You know, just like when we were young, we played baseball or cricket, or even Prabhupada, he used to play soccer. And Prabhupada's favorite position in the soccer field was the goalie, because he didn't want to run too much.
Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami Govindam
Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami Enam kanvantam aravindanalayatapsham Marhavatam samasitam buddhasundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami Andani yasa sakalem Priya Priti Manti Pasyanti Panti Kayanti Chiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jada Vigrahasya Govindam
Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami Govindam Adipurusham
Shimate Bhakti Vedanta Guru Samaniki Namade Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauramani Vacha Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Matsya Jagade Satarande Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gaurada Shiva Sari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Chaitanya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Brahmanityananda Dvaita Kadana Shiva Sade Naratu Brenda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Brahmanityananda Dvaita Gadada Shiva Sade Narmata Brenda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hari Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hari Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hari Ram 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 Hare Hare. Narad Hagalokinana Nagalokinana Drakate. Narad Hagalokinana Nagalokinana Drakate. Narate Rade Rande Nayante Nayate Rade Rande Nayante Jaya Radhe Jaya Jai Ragat Hey Jai